I think my pursuit in not me doing it myself, but empowering others, knowing that now the biggest currency I see more than money is time for me, and I want the freedom of time to be able to do whatever the hell I want. So if I want to go down to Florida for 2 months and live down there, that I'm able to pick up and go do that. But without having the change in mindset and the ability to really take the focus off me and put it onto my team members and kind of meet them where they're at and see what they learn, to see that some people are only able to hear things if they are told them in a certain way, right? So it's like your style of communication and how you communicate with people.
How do you find the will to fight back against a world that wants to keep you sedated, average, and stuck in place? Join us for the tools and strategies you need to create a life of abundance, discipline, and high achievement. This is the Tactical Empire with Jeff Smith.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is Sean from the Tactical Empire, and we have an inner circle member. We've been bringing them on, talking about their journeys, seeing if there's any lessons that we can extract from these guys. And today we have Chris Guerrero, and before I let him introduce himself, he is one of the men that made it to the top of the incredible peak in Scottsdale, Arizona. And were you one of the guys that forewarned us on how hard this hike was, or did you go into it blind, not knowing anything about it?
No, I had warned you guys and was told that we were not doing this hike. Little did we know we were doing this hike at the end of a 5-mile loop. So, yeah.
I'm not going to throw Jeff under the bus, but I'm going to throw him under the bus. I had warned him as well. So it is all good. After the fact, we're glad that we all did it and knocked it out. So Chris, obviously super fucking fit, made it to the top, crushed it. But tell us a little bit about what you do for a living and where you're at and what you've been working on.
Sure. So I own 2 gyms. I have one primary gym as an owner-operator. It's been in business for 15 years, a second one for 5 years. I've owned 2 other gyms at other points in time that I've sold. I also work as a small business mentor. I'm a serial investor. I invest in many different things, stock market, crypto, getting into the real estate field right now as well. So I'm just kind of focused right now on bettering myself, bettering my leadership, continuing to improve my fitness, become a better man, and also make some money in the process.
All right. Well, I'm going to go right for the jugular because I don't want to fucking waste any time. I like to extract these lessons. Owning a business, especially a fitness business, for 15 years, as Jordan Peterson would say, that's not nothing. I mean, that's fucking something. When 90+% of small businesses fail and don't make the 5-year mark, and by fail I mean they could close down, whatever. I don't like using that word, but 15 years, man, that is serious. What do you attribute that to in the realm of actually getting to 15 years? Now, I could probably surmise that the early years were hustling and grinding just to make ends meet. So that might be the easy early answer, but over time, it's got to be something more than that. So I'm just going to let you speak to the people. How do you get a service-based business where you see the majority of your clients most days, 50 to 80% of the month? How do you get that to last 15 years?
I don't know. Well, there's a couple things. One, I think it is tenacity and being able to go with the ebb and flow and the ups and downs, which are inevitable in business, right? It's not just like market downturns, COVID, shutdowns, things like that. If you can't roll with the punches, it's absolutely, I think it's absolutely impossible to stay in a service-based business long-term because you get burnt out. The second thing is having the right team and systems in place. And you get the right team and systems in place by educating yourself. So if there was one thing that I would say that it took me way too long to do, was getting help, right? I was always of the mindset, like I could figure it out myself. I could do it myself, which to a degree, I think makes you resilient and allows you to kind of roll with the punches. But I could have saved myself a lot of time, stress, and grief by hiring a coach or a mentor earlier on in my career and not looking at a, $10, $15 an hour task like cleaning as like, oh, I'm going to save money. Let me do that. Where I could actually focus on being more resilient and growing faster than in some cases, like you said, grinding and just sustaining. I would say the other component to it is that I really, really, really loved what I did. I still love what I do. It's a little bit different, but I really loved what I did. So eating shit per se was a lot easier to do then because I was like, I really wouldn't rather be waking up doing anything else. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, Tenacity, are you born and bred in New York?
Yes.
I mean, how did that tenacity play into your life even before entrepreneurship? Is this something that you had, or where did that come from?
I just think the way that I was raised, like my parents didn't coddle me growing up. So it was like, if if I failed to do my homework or failed to do something, it wasn't like I let them know the night before, like, oh, okay, cool. You're going to fail and go deal with the consequences in the morning, because most people are not left to the devices of dealing with consequences. Like they have to just like figure out a way to get out of something. So that was something ingrained in me early on in academics and stuff. It's like you have a set criteria of things that have to get done. You have to manage and organize your time in order to do it. My parents were not like, hey, let me check your homework. It's like, you have the freedom to do X, Y, Z, but if you fuck up, you are going to own up to your actions and kind of deal with it. And it's just something that I've carried into every facet of my life as an adult. I have extreme ownership, extreme accountability, and integrity when it comes to, if I say I'm going to do something, regardless of whether I want to do it or not, it's going to get done.
Now, I know other business owners, for better or for worse, that have had tenacity, that hustle mentality, that grindiness. And I'm mincing words here, and they may not be perfect synonyms, but I understand what you mean by tenacity, especially as a young fitness business, service-based business owner. And some guys just run with that for the rest of their life. Now, you being in the Tattoo Empire Inner Circle and being around Jeff and I and the other guys in the group, understand that cannot be the thing that drives us long term. So I appreciate the other things that you mentioned, but I want to harp on one more question in regards to tenacity. How has that tenacity evolved over the 15 years, or how has the type of tenacity evolved over 15 years? What would you attribute that to, or how does that look nowadays versus the first few years of business?
Well, as we evolve, as we get older, what we desire and what we want in life changes. So it's like a relentless pursuit of empowering my team and helping them grow now. I've invested so much time and money. I mean, $50,000 to $100,000 over the last probably 5 to 10 years, and just becoming a better leader, mentor, and being able to take ownership and like, hey, you know what? I was an asshole. I fucked up. I'm sorry. And just trying to lead my team. Because one thing I pride myself on is that for the most part, the people that have been with me, even part-time coaches, have been with me for a very long time. The only time people leave working with me is if they move. I haven't really had I think I've had one person in 15 years that quit. And it wasn't something to do with me. It was something to do with the team member, but it was culturally, so it's my fault, right? So at the end of the day, it's that I think my pursuit in not me doing it myself, but empowering others, knowing that now the biggest currency I see more than money is time for me. And I want the freedom of time to be able to do whatever the hell I want. So if I want to go down to Florida for 2 months and live down there, that I'm able to pick up and go do that. But without having the change in mindset and the ability to really take the focus off me and put it on to my team members and kind of meet them where they're at and see what they learn, to see that some people are only able to hear things if they are told them in a certain way, right? So it's like your style of communication and how you communicate with people. And I think that's where I've been more relentless, is just self-improvement, just constantly trying to get better at the way that I lead and communicate with people so that I end up getting the outcome that I want.
Well, that's where my next question was going to, as you spoke there, was like, I can see, and I've struggled with this as a leader too, like that tenacity, or, hey, when a job needs done, I'm just going to go do it and I'm going to figure it out. But from a leader's perspective, people hear things differently. They want to be led differently. They react differently to different tones, different words. The definitions of words are not the same between people. And as you add more people to the team, I mean, the lines of communication are exponential, right? Going from 2 people to 3 people is not adding one more line of communication. It's actually adding like 6 lines of communication. And so once we get above 3 team members, it's just crazy, the amount of issues that can arise via communication. So, you said something there about apologizing. And I like when small business owners get super tactical on like what they actually do. So I'm just going to let you take this question where it may go. You can stay like macro level in the clouds or micro level, super tactical. How do you put a governor on your tenacity when it comes to leadership? Because unless you're hiring a bunch of like 22-year-old sales bros, the tenacity, the wolf of Wall Street mentality is not going to work. So what do you specifically think of or do when you're approaching team members on development, on improvement, on mistakes? And I'm asking partially for myself, like my biggest area of focus as I go into a new business venture as well.
So I love this question, and I've struggled with it for so long, and I still haven't figured it out. But what I have figured out is that what I want in my life is not necessarily what everyone else wants in their life. And I think as business owners, the lines are sometimes blurred in that we look at things like, hey, I want to make money, I want to be successful, I want to do X, Y, Z. Not everyone is driven by that. So what I've learned to do is take a step back with my team and really try to figure out, like, what do you want? And the interesting thing is some people really don't know what they want. So trying to help them kind of figure out, like, hey, so does this sound more like something you want? Do you want financial freedom? Do you like the flexibility of schedule? So first it's kind of like taking a step back, figuring out what the team wants. Secondly, it might be paraphrasing or putting into context so there's some kind of mutual agreement between the two of you, like, hey, we're going to work together in synchronicity to help get you closer to the goal that you want. And then I really think when it comes to the perspective of like, what do you want? People are most successful when they're doing things that they enjoy, right? So like if I have someone that's really good, and I'm in the fitness business, so I'm going to use this example. If I have someone that's really good at coaching and really good at programming, but they suck at sales, right? Me putting them in a client-facing sales role is setting them up for failure, setting them up for frustration, setting me up for frustration, and setting our relationship into like a tailspin where eventually somebody leaves. I have spoken with numerous not gym owners, but also just business owners that get so frustrated at that concept that I'm like, but why are you trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, right? Like, empower the person to do what they love doing and think of a creative way, because entrepreneurs are very creative. Think of a creative way as to how empowering this person in something that they love doing is going to reap the benefit where your clients win, they win, and you win. And that's the biggest piece of advice that I can give, is that trying to really figure out how to bridge the gap between what they want from a personal level, what they enjoy doing in your business, and how you can kind of use their strengths to elevate everybody, as opposed to just getting frustrated when things don't happen.
Well,
Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. I've seen that play out in my first brick and mortar service-based gym as well. And, as entrepreneurs, we all read the E-Myth, and it, very easily lays out that if you love baking and then you decide to go open a bakery, you're no longer a baker, you're the owner of a bake shop, and those skill sets are different. And yet we start hiring people to do something, and the longer they're with us and the more successful that we all collectively become, the traditional method is level them up. Well, when you take someone that's passionate about making cakes and you turn them into the bakery manager, you're doing the same shit you did. And so if they don't have that passion, that desire, that skill set, or that the want to do that, you're really setting them and ultimately your business up for failure. So I like what you hinted at there, which was, how can we keep them in their zone of genius, their strength zone, while incentivizing them over the long term to reap the benefits of a successful business? I think that's very, very hard, because as you said, like, some people do change, desires change, and keeping that line of communication is important, and not just resting on the laurels of what they said a year ago or 2 years ago, and keeping that line of communication open. So where are you at now? Like, what are you trying to work on? What are you trying to improve upon for yourself inside your businesses or outside of your businesses?
Inside the business, I want to grow top line revenue. I really want to push the semi-private / small group model. More so because I believe it, most of my coaches align with the fact that they got into this to coach. They like coaching people. They like helping people. And I want to just say one thing about what we had just mentioned, which is that I do believe in an 80-20 rule here as well. Like 20% of what you do, you're going to have to eat shit and do it. You're not just going to have a job.
You're not gonna like everything.
Where you
Absolutely.
Exactly. So there is a degree, but it's my job as like the manager and leader to make sure that that 20% is not something that's so critical to the growth of the business. As it pertains to the second part of the question, it's just like, I want to grow the top line revenue. The way that I'm going to do it is by starting to implement semi-private and small group training. It really is a win-win-win scenario, which I always talk about in my business. The clients win because they're getting personal training, which is the best and quickest way to results-based outcome, in my opinion. But the problem with personal training is it's just long-term. It is very expensive. Most people cannot and will not pay for that long-term. Group training is also fantastic, but sometimes, people get lost in the shuffle. So the small group is the intermediary where the client, I believe, gets the best of both worlds. The coach can make more money per hour. They can almost double their income of what they would do with a personal training session and triple what they do in a group session. And then the gym overall makes more money. So the gym makes more money. Truthfully, for me, it's not about making more money in my gym for myself right now. An extra $1,000, $2,000 a month for me would be great. I could use it for investing. But it's really the security for my team to feel like they're fully locked in and where they want to be so that I can completely remove myself from the day-to-day and focus on the next step for me, which I have found the quickest way to build my financial freedom is going to be through real estate. It's taken me admittedly a while to figure out what that path is going to be. Is it short-term rental? Is it Airbnb? Is it long-term rental? Is it burring properties? And I've finally figured out what it is, right? The what. Then it was where am I going to do it? And that's kind of fluctuated for so long. And it hasn't been until like the last 4 to 5 months. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to burr properties. I'm going to do it in Alabama. I'm going to finance them. And I'm going to work with an operator who's going to be on the ground for me. That process, unfortunately for me, and I don't want to say unfortunately, because I've learned a lot along the way, has taken me longer than I would have wanted. But what I've realized in the process of myself is that I suffer from paralysis by analysis, which so many people do. And I just want to reiterate, and like I'm saying it to myself, it's like imperfect action is far greater than inaction. Like, we're not going to be making such catastrophic mistakes that we're just going to fuck up our entire life. It's not going to happen. Not at the level that I'm starting at. So, it's kind of taken me a while to get to this point, but that's the idea, is that I want to start with one. I want to start with one and kind of see where that goes as I start to learn more about the process.
Yeah, I can relate to wanting to know everything before taking action. And, the quote that we kind of run around is like, perfection is the worst standard. And in this realm, it's trying to be an A+ student. And that's been ingrained in us since, elementary school was we need to study hard for the test. We need to know all the answers before we take the test. But in the real world, the C- student who takes action and can learn the answers to what they got wrong on the back end, like how many, like we don't even think about this. In elementary school, like half the teachers allowed us to retake the fucking test. Like, that's what real life is. Like, take action, get a C-, figure out what you got wrong, and the next time you take the test, you're going to get an A-. Like, the A+ in real life are extremely hard. So I've been trying to figure out a different way to say this, and it's like, the best shun is action, not perfection. And so just go take action. And I think you came out of the Scottsdale meetup understanding that. And so, Chris, like, what do you want to put out into the universe to the listeners? Like, so the next time that we get you on the podcast or they see you on Instagram or Facebook and they see that you get this thing done, they heard it here first. So in the next 6 months, what are you going to accomplish?
I want in the next 6 months, minimum of 2 long-term rentals that I'm in the process of burning, because again, I haven't done this before. So I don't know how long the process and the refi process and the seasoning and all that stuff is going to take. I would say at least 2, potentially 4. Cause like what I've always learned is a good deal will find money, right? But what I was wrapping my brain around was, do I do it with my own money? Do I take hard money? And I've decided that I'm going to do it with my own money first.
Yeah.
I feel more comfortable. There's more wiggle room. But once I have proof of concept and I do it once or twice, I can theoretically, on the third go around, do one with my money, do one with hard money, do one with private money. And I have people who believe in me and want to invest in me. But I'm not going to take money and funds until I know that I have proof of concept.
Well, I like that. That's kind of where I'm at, right? I came out of the first meetup of the year, Birmingham, and partnered with an operator. I was the financial partner. We're wrapping up the first 2 properties. It took us 2 months after Birmingham to finalize partnership. So we're about month 4 now. Properties are 99% done. We have all the paperwork submission for the cash out refi. The appraisals were last week, right? And I used my money. And same mindset. It was like, I'm going to be the financer. I want to feel what this feels like. And I want to see the economics, right? I can see the economics on paper, but now I actually get to feel the economics. And that's the same thought that I'll put it out into the universe. That's the same thought I've been having. And I haven't put it on Facebook yet, but I'm going to go there and be like, I'm looking for hard money lenders. I'm looking for people that want whatever double-digit percentage over the next 3 to 6 months so I can get control of the asset. And yeah, the high interest is going to cost me a little bit of money, but I'm not doing this for the next 6 months. I'm doing this for the next 60 years. So I want the asset, and I believe in the cash flow, and I believe in the appreciation, and I want the tax depreciation benefit. So it's good to see you coming along for the ride. For the lessons that you guys may have gleaned over on this episode, I really like what Chris said about the win-win-win situation within his service-based business. What is the best value for the client to meet their goals? It does not have to be a fitness-based service business, any business. What is the best value-based product or service you have to get that problem the client has solved as fast and efficiently as possible and economically? 2, what is in your best interest for your employees to maximize their skill set and their time? We know, especially those in the fitness space, there is a ceiling and guardrails on how much you can work in a day and how many people you can fit into particular models. And then ultimately, yes, maybe not the biggest deal for Chris right now, but the biggest profit product and service. And when you can figure out a thing that gets all 3 of those, that is the business building trident, in my opinion, is what's best for the client, what's best for the employees, and what's best for the business. And when the same thing aligns for all 3 of those, that's what you want to go 80% of your time in. And I do like what you said about respecting the additional 20% of suck or idea building that Callie mentioned at Scottsdale. Do you want to leave the people with anything else, Chris, of anything that you learned over the years, or the biggest thing that you see that you need to help small business owners give to the public for free?
I would say, and it might sound backwards, but back to that win-win-win situation that I talk about. I think teaching your employees to think of putting the business first, right? So you have to have a successful, profitable business. If you do not have that, nothing else flows. From there, the second concern is staff. Is the staff happy and fulfilled? Because if they're not, they're going to provide a shit product for your client. The third tier is client. And I know in a client service and client facing industry, that might sound backwards, but the truth is without that trident, far too many people fall on their sleeve. And that's why I think so many businesses fail, because they have it upside down. And I think you have to have a responsibility to the business, then your staff, then the clients, because it will work to accomplish that win-win-win scenario. If everyone is, I don't want to say happy, but they're fulfilled in their role of what they're doing, and they understand their contribution to a greater purpose, which is growing the business, which grows them, which then allows them to perform an awesome service for the clients.
I'll end with, not only are the clients not always right, there are a lot more potential clients for you to replace those clients than potential employees. So treat the business with respect, treat your employees with respect. And ultimately, if those 2 things are right, I mean, that's culture. Right there, the business is doing the right thing and the employees are doing the right thing. That means the clients will get the best product and service from all of those involved in the business. So thank you so much for saying that. Chris, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming out to Scottsdale. It was great seeing you, man. We are going to get you back on the podcast here in the next couple months after you get through the first 2 Burr properties so we can see how it went, my man.
Awesome. Thank you, man. I appreciate the time.
You're welcome.
Take. Yeah.